To pop up there. Blood nose is already here. No, there's a timer here. Yes, the time elapsed. How much time has passed? For instance, right now it's 20 seconds. And we're waiting. Pardon? Well, right over there, underneath the camera.
Okay.
And hopefully, welcome to Hebrew lore from days of yore, says Blood Nose. Okay, now, I still haven't popped up here. What's up? Ah, here we go. And I'm live! It's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Hopefully, something, a tidbit, a little bit of a volt, if you will. So continuing the chat from Thursday, there are still a couple of comments that I also wanted to get through from BMXers and Tea Time. Wait, no, this isn't it. Where was it? It was a different one. No, wait, hold on. I had the notes. I don't think so. Wait, no, I don't see it. I don't see the file that had the notes. Okay, I don't know. Maybe somebody messed around with my desktop. Maybe it was you. Shalom, everyone. Sneezer says, Shalom to you. A good new week. How's everybody's weekend? How was people's Sunday? How was people's Shabbos or Friday? Kaku God. Hello to you, Kaku. Tell me, what does it mean? What does Kaku God mean? I'm curious. Nancy Roach. Now, is it? I'm sorry. I may have asked you. Is it Roach or is it Roach? And if it is Roach, I learned recently that cockroach is from Latin, meaning the bug which shines, something like that. Or the bug that reflects light. No, the bug that shines. That's what cockroach means. And I'm curious if the roach pertains to light in Latin. So tell me about your last name if you can. Or even if it's not your last name, tell me about the last name. Oh wow, and they are such hated bugs. Yes, it's true. KJ is in the house. Hey KJB. Kakugad, he who goes for truth. I like that. He who goes for truth. That is lovely. Now tell me, Kakugad, are you yourself a YouTuber, or is it just a username, or are you in the pursuit of a truth? What are your thoughts on objective truth? What are your thoughts on subjective truth? Tejas is here. Hey, how you doing? Jesus said before, and he said, who saw me saw Father. What you have to say on Jesus, this proof he is God. Yes, many Christians and Messianics, followers of Jesus, Yeshua, they see Yeshua in everything. They see Jesus everywhere. So obviously, the proof of his existence is abundant and clear to all who would open their eyes. So they say to me, repeatedly, and to me, I simply have that principle which I follow, right? And I don't follow the dead. I follow in their footsteps, but I don't follow them. Kaku God, it's my first time seeing your live, and I already like it. Yes, I am one of finding truth about intellectual curiosity. Now, the idea of the intellect, right? Certain things are kind of self-evident in their truth, right? If you see a mother with a newborn, the intellect might have different questions regarding care, regarding, well, the well-being of the baby, but somebody who I would say is there to find truth, they wouldn't have any questions, right? It would just be, obviously it depends on the circumstances, but what I'm saying is that there's a truth which is self-evident, like a mother and child, right? A baby nursing at his mother's breast. And there are ones where you need to perhaps dig. Maybe they're not as self-evident. At least to me, that idea of, let's say, baby breastfeeding, there's a great truth there. I can't explain it. It's that cyclic nature of life that speaks to me on that level, and so I call it truth. But it's a phenomenon. I'm overanalyzing it. So it's my first time. I really like it. I appreciate the good words, man. I am one of finding truth. Kaku says, I am amazed right now that I will really learn a lot from you, and yes, I would love sharing ideas. Good, that's what we do here, man. We share ideas. Sneezer says, I don't consider him merely saying so long ago proof, personally. Flimsy proof at best, I believe, because I heard it firsthand. Wait, so once again, the proof. I don't consider him merely saying so long ago proof. Flimsy proof at best, I believe, because I heard it firsthand. I understand you're discussing the revelation you had, Sneezer, but I'm not quite understanding what you're saying in regards to what Tejas said. Sneezer said to Tejas, yes, but the New Testament changed that, and Israel has been cursed for killing prophets. Well, Israel has been warned in the books of prophets, right, and in the Torah to listen to the prophets. And it's the slaughtering of prophets and good people that's part of what caused the first and the second temple to be destroyed. And tomorrow night I won't be live streaming. Tomorrow night is the fast of the 9th of Av, so I won't be live streaming. Torah study is forbidden on the 9th of Av because Torah is a joyous thing, and Torah is something which can enliven a person, and at least until close to the end of the fast, from sundown to sundown, and at least until close to the end of that day, to the second sundown, it's people don't learn Torah. And if they do, they only learn things to do with the destruction of the temple by Babylon, and the prophecies of woe and destruction and exile. Love from Philippines. Hey, thank you. Much love back. New Testament, Tejas says, New Testament never said Israel been cursed. It was blessed by God. It will be. Nowhere is it said, Sneezer. Sneezer answers, Tejas is saying that since he said he was God, it proves he was God. I disagree. I understand that that's proof, and a person cannot testify to his or her own divinity. Is that what you're saying? Or is it simply in this case? There's a phrase, a Talmudic phrase, Ein hanachtom me'id al isato, which means that the baker does not attest to the goods of his batter. Ariel is here. Hi, Ariel. And Yodidia is here. We had a back and forth quickly right before I went live. Shalom, gentlemen, says Ariel. Looking forward to the discussion, as am I. It's a new week. There's still time. There really is still time. At every single moment, every single second, it could very well be that something finally manifests itself, changes, and we won't have to fast tomorrow night. And instead of it being a day of mourning and a day of fasting, it will be a day of dancing and joy and celebration. Dancing days are here again, right? Like Led Zeppelin said. Though he was God, LOL, said Sneezer, and is. תחת אשר לא שמעו אל דברי נאום אדוני, yes, אשר שלחתי עליהם את עבדי הנביאים, השכם ושלוח ולא שמעתם נאום אדוני. That's right. I sent prophets, and you did not, I sent them repeatedly, you did not listen to them. Sneezer says, I'm just saying such facts are easily dismissed, as is personal revelation, unfortunately. Yeah, I suppose it's true. Such facts can be easily dismissed, and personal revelation also can be easily dismissed. What about Thomas, says Tejas? He saw him after his death, as written in the New Testament. Well, I think bringing sort of proof for the validity of the New Testament and of Yeshua's covenant, let's say, through the New Testament is, I don't know if that's a real argument. Isn't it a type of fallacy? Tejas, people lie. Very much so. Sneezer says people lie. Yes, they do. The movie Liar, Liar. I love the premise. It's Jim Carrey at his peak of comedy. Not necessarily the funniest, but just, in that peak, and he did. What did he do? He did The Mask, and he did Ace Ventura, and he did Dumb and Dumber, and he did Liar, Liar, like in quite rapid succession. Rapid succession, not one after the other necessarily immediately, but he had a couple of years where those comedies came out. And it just didn't stop, and he was so good. He still is so good. He's doing different things with his life. He's speaking of personal revelation. Jim Carrey's had a revelation in the last decade. Ariel says, definitely want to visit Philippines one day once I have finished building my boat. That'll be the day, huh, Ariel? That'll be the day, man. Jeremiah says, Jeremiah says the temple was destroyed on the 10th of the 5th month. Yes, the Talmud actually references this. And they say, at least one opinion there, says that because of the conditions and the circumstances under which Jeremiah and the rest of the people, right, the conditions they were under, the circumstances they were in, that they were simply confused regarding the day, and they didn't know precisely which day it was, and they wrote 10th instead of 9th. Either way, according to tradition, it is around this time. I'm an aspiring writer as well. I wanted to write a book, name Beyond the Truth Between Good and Evil. First of all, as a fellow writer, good for you. Aspire, set goals, kick ass, keep writing, don't ever stop writing. I wanted to write a book. Wanted in the past tense. How come the past tense, Kaku? Why not in the present tense? And as for the name, is it beyond the truth, subtitled Between Good and Evil, or is it beyond the truth, that which is between good and evil? Or, I mean, there are a few ways to read it, right? So which one is it? Yodidiao says, 2 Kings says it happened on the 7th. Well, there's 2 Kings, there's Divrei Yamim, there's the prophet, right, Jeremiah. I don't recall offhand what it says. I do remember in 2 Kings, I do remember that it is disputed, let's say, but the 9th of Av has traditionally been accepted as the day of mourning for the fast, and day of mourning for the destruction of the second and the first temple. Now, whether it was the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, for me at this point in time is irrelevant, because it was deemed that this would be the day. It's when all of Israel does it together, and I go with it. Yo, says BMXers with dreadlocks. Hello, yo. Have you been uploading BMXers? Have you been uploading more playlists, adding things to existing playlists? Or, because I know that you were for a while doing it somewhat consistently. Robert Harrison says, here's to feeling good all the time. And then he belches and that smoke comes out. Michael Richards, ladies and gentlemen. From what I've seen in the behind the scenes and the bloopers, he may have been a little difficult to work with. He had this more of a professional professional, I think, outlook and behavior when it came to the craft and acting and getting through the scene. And you can see that sometimes he's upset at the rest of the crew, of the cast. Kakukad said, I have a lot of questions that is so deep and would love to talk it about you. Good, that's what we're here for, man. If it's not in the chat, because if I don't get to it, I try to get to it in a different live stream. Right now, open, I mean, I started with this live stream, with this chat, but what I have open is Thursday's chat and a couple of comments that came in the last couple of days. So I would love to, and that's that. And another option is leave it in a comment. I try to answer every comment, unless it's complete spam, sometimes even then. Robert says, the government has been experimenting with pigmen since the 50s, Jerry. Oink, oink. Oh man, and the guy who lands on George's car. He could have fallen 2 feet to the right. He should have done it on the sidewalk. It's city property. What a show, what a show. Seinfeld. How did the rabbis come up with the 9th day of the 5th month? Again, tradition. I think if there's a difference of opinion and there's a difference in the date, then I think it comes down to traditionally it's the 9th. As for why, it's because it's not just the day of the destruction of the temple. It's also, for instance, the day that the people of Israel were told they could not enter the land after the spies had their say, right? The scouts who set out to explore the land, and it's said that the rebellion happened on Tisha B'Av, let's say, when the people were like, all right, we're not doing it, let's go back to Egypt. What else happened on the 9th of Av? On the 9th of Av, right, the first and the second temple, the Chet HaMeraglim, right, the spies. Two other things happened on the 9th of Av. On the 9th of Av, what was it? I think that Nichresha Ha'ir? No. Yes, I think so. The city was overrun, right? The city was sacked. No, but it makes sense that the city would be sacked after the walls were breached. There were two other things that happened. Traditionally, 5 things and more, by the way. The 9th of Av was the expulsion, if I'm not mistaken, of Spain or England, or both. And the expulsion from Gush Katif, also around the 9th of Av, if not, I think probably right next to the 9th, on the 9th, I don't remember. It was a lot of bad things happened to the Hebrew people, the Israelites, the Jews, in these last few weeks, and the week of the 9th of Av, and the 9th of Av in particular. So even if the date is disputed, other things happen on the 9th of Av, and it's kind of I'm not going to say a locus or a hub or a fulcrum of any kind, but it's a very important date, and if it's not the 9th, then it's a day or two later. We all do it together here, right, on the 9th. Those who do fast, those who do mourn, do it all year round, and particularly on the 9th. And in the recent weeks, the weeks between the straits, from the 17th of Tammuz to the 9th of Av, the 3 weeks between the straits. That was super funny. Yeah, that episode is super funny. BMXers, I agree. Rob, careful, a time for joy and a time for sorrow, said Sneezer. Kakugad says, like if God knows what will happen to Adam and Eve like the tree of good and evil, why did God allow it? To test Adam and Eve faith. But he knows both of them will fail. Well, my view of God is that I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. And in that sense, that story of Genesis, that revelation, was a revelation that was in Eden. And I don't really have a perception of it since I am not in Eden. As for to test, it's not a question of to test, it's a question of for them to manifest their innate the image of God. It was for them to carry out the task for which they were created and play their part and contribute in the realization of creation and to get it to its highest. Ideally, as I understand it, would have been if the 6th day would have been without sin, without missing the mark, and if we would not have been expelled, then on the 7th day, Shabbat, the Edenic Shabbat would have taken place, and we would have partaken of the tree of life, then of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, if you do claim that it is a test, but he knows, then that's the question of if God knows everything, how is there free will? And I have many times mentioned the multiplex analogy, which I read, which is that you have a multiplex with infinite theaters, and you can choose whatever theater to go into at any given moment, at any given time. You're sitting in one, you can get up, I want to go to a different one. You go to a different one, nope, I want to go there. You're there for 2 minutes, you're there for 5 minutes, you're there for 10 minutes. You can switch all the time. You have control over where you go, but you don't have control over what is being screened, right? Over what is being shown to you, what is being displayed and what is being acted out to you. That you have no control over, but you can leave at any time, make a different choice, take a different path, go to a different theater. So, God knows what will happen to Adam and Eve. God knows, meaning a revelation of knowledge. And knowledge is something which has to do, as I perceive it, right? That's something which is hidden, just like knowledge is in the mind. And the mind is not external. The mind is internal, and the brain is internal. And it's right under the skull, and it has the different filters and layers. It's something hidden, right? Inspiration and thought and processing thoughts. You can kind of see where it takes place in different imaging, right? In the frontal lobe, in the back, in the center, in this gland, in that gland, in the bridge between the lobes, between the hemispheres. You can see where things are concentrated, but knowledge is something which primarily is inside. And to say God knows, meaning that there is something there that's hidden, which God is, for all intents and purposes, anthropomorphizing God, right? He is carrying out this knowledge with Adam and Eve. There's something hidden which is manifesting. And Adam and Eve had something in them which ought to have manifested. But what happened, and now, temporarily, we are outside of Eden, and we're doing this thing, we're playing this game, we're in this reality. So God knows everything, and you have free will. That's how I see it. Because I don't know God, but as for a revelation of divine knowledge, right, the attribute called knowledge, or chokhmah, or bina, depending on how you look at it, it means it's a very hidden revelation. And so asking questions about it, we can sort of see with us and our minds, and with the stories that we were handed down, what God knows, what God doesn't know, so to speak. But as for God knowing both of them will fail, it's for us to get over the failure, stand on our own 2 feet, return to Eden, and this time do the right thing at the right time. Yedidiahu says, there are exactly 112 days from the 15th of the first month to the 9th of the 5th month. 112 is Havaya Elohim. Okay, well, hold on. Hey, I'm a sneezer too.
Nice.
Thanks, dude. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Okay. Tejas says, if you say resurrection is not real, then will you die? How God did Red Sea into 2 parts? Aren't we doubting God's capability? No, I didn't say resurrection isn't real. What I think of is resurrection is partaking of the tree of life. That's truly freeing yourself from the very nature of death. Death, biblically speaking, in Genesis, came into the world when we missed the mark in Eden and were expelled, cast out. And the tree of life, when we go back there and partake of it properly, God willing, it means that that is the true resurrection. To go from a time and place and reality of good and evil, of life and death, we go to the tree of life, which is a life where it's not life after death, it's life beyond death. Death is taken away from the world. Wickedness, evil, negativity is taken away from the world. That duality only exists here in this world between worlds, at least for us here in a body, right? Duality exists in everything but the Most High God. But the point I'm making here is that this is the world of knowledge of good and evil. That's the place where we are at, a world of duality. And so resurrection is definitely real, but I consider true resurrection not necessarily to be those who were resurrected in the Bible, not those who, let's say, didn't die, like Hanoch, Eliyahu, but us, all of us, as a unified human race, getting back to the gates of Eden, having those guards become guides, leading us to that tree of life. The flaming sword, we'll handle it. We won't fear it. We'll be able to grab it and master it. So, the second thing is, how did God Red Sea into 2 parts? So Moses did that, right? Moses did that, and God tells Moses to do it. Moses revealed that revelation in the world through his actions. He opened up the channel, right? So, aren't we doubting God's capability? God manifests and reveals himself in many ways. And so different names have certain attributes which they are associated with, and they are also closely associated with different capabilities. This means that the infinite, right, the Ein Sof, Baruch Hu, the infinite, right, the Most High God, is something I can't really fully conceptualize and understand. However, knowing what I know from here and now, the Bible, myself, I don't doubt God's capabilities. But I know that there is also the human being as an individual, right, playing a part in what is it that is revealed of God's capabilities to the individual. So no, I'm not doubting God's capabilities at all. Cometh the man, hello. Do you guys worship God by its pure form of godness, without invoking human names, like Christians do with Jesus and Hindus do with whatever? If you mean by Hebrew people, you guys, there are many, many different names of God, but they are all revelations. They are not God himself. It's a name. So a name, like I just said, right, reveals a certain attribute in the world. There are different relationships between the different names and their roots, right, and the blending of the different names with left, right, and center. Ariel says, Kaku, great place to ask. Lots of learned people of numerous different backgrounds. So many different perspectives, and Yonatan approaches Judaism in a very unbiased way, in my opinion. Oh, I'm definitely biased. But I appreciate the words nonetheless. Robert says, Messianic rabbi goes into the most dangerous area in Israel to spread the gospel in Bnei Brak, Israel, where they have stoned people for driving on the Sabbath. It makes sense because people who follow Jesus want to spread that good news, and they want to get to the Hebrews more specifically, because some say, if I understand, some say that some of the Christians, that until the people of Israel convert and are baptized or whatnot, right, and accept Yeshua, Jesus, then there's no real redemption. And in that sense, it's a hindrance any time that the Jews have not accepted Jesus. And the rabbi of the synagogue was interested. The rabbi of the synagogue where he was at, he spread the gospel in Bnei Brak. Okay, and did he come out unscathed? Do share. Tejas, Sneezer says to Tejas, only the dead think resurrection isn't real. Eretz Yisrael, said Ariel Marshall. Tejas said, Trinity is simple, don't complicate it. God is God the Father, His Word is Jesus, and His soul is Holy Ghost. Hence God is one, will be one. Oh, believe me, I'm not complicating it in that sense. God is one. Echad yachid umiyuchad, right? One unique, single, alone. So that's what I think. I don't buy into the idea of the Trinity because it's not my tradition, but I haven't exactly explored it all the way either. I do know that if you consider Jesus, who was a man, to be part of God, that's where I draw the line. There is no God incarnate. As far as I'm concerned, people have heard me say this many times. That's my opinion. Cometh, I do. Others have varying perspectives. Varying perspectives indeed. Yodidiao said, so you can agree that the days could have got mixed up. Do you think the Shabbat got mixed up because the temple was destroyed on Shabbat? I think everything is possible regarding chronology because so many troubles and so many marches, right, and death marches to Babylon and ships, and it's like, okay, it could be that the dates are mixed up. The idea is, and this we see reflected in the laws of Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctifying the new month, right, and going back to the Torah, right, Kazeh Re'eh V'Kadesh, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim. It means basically that God, in the revelation as revealed in Torah and in the oral traditions, gave certain powers of authority to the court, to the sages. Again, according to Rabbinic Orthodox Judaism, let me clarify that. And to the prophets as well, certain powers and authority. And do you think the Shabbat got mixed up? Do I think so? No. Am I basing it in anything? No. I'm not. I do know that the Hebrew calendar for its time was sophisticated. You can say that there are more sophisticated ones, to be sure. And you could probably demonstrate how the Hebrew calendar is lacking in this and that. But considering the fact that it's been around for a long time and basically the rabbinic community is all around it, and I say that because other sects have their own dates and calendars, I don't think the Shabbat got mixed up. But I think that even if it did, the Shabbat that we celebrate and observe and keep holy, I try, right, to keep it sacred, keep it holy, that's the Shabbat that's the only Shabbat I have. Ein li Shabbat elazo. It's the only one I have. Jerusalem, Nancy, Jerusalem specifically. Wait, Nancy, where's our host? Yes, I'm in Jerusalem. Robert says, how was the Jewish book of Habakkuk? Oh, I am ashamed. I said I would do it that week. I didn't swear or make a promise, but I said I would do it, and I didn't. That's a shame. Oh yes, Yodidiao, on the 7th of the month, his general Nebuzaradan showed up, and then it says that he burned Jerusalem and its towers and its steeples, right? The large towers, right? They're called steeples? No. Steeple is... what's a steeple? Is it just a church or is it just a tall tower? A church tower, so it's just a church. So not its steeples, but it's tall towers and its halls, its buildings and apartments were burned. So I think he showed up on the 7th, but that he burned it, right? The temple itself burned towards the sundown of the 9th day, and then it burned most throughout the 10th day. Yes, if I'm not mistaken. But again, it could be that he showed up on the 7th, right, and he stood before Nebuchadnezzar the king, and then he did it all right then and there. The point still stands. These are days of mourning, days of a lot of tragedies. Okay, let's see. Sneezer says to Yodidiahu, as I understand it, calculations only matter regarding the center of time, which moves, thus days change. Well, we live in space-time. You could definitely say that it's a spectrum, right, depending on your mind, consciousness, depending even on the way you feel, where time seems to be moving faster or slower. Time moves, thus days change. Right, the center of time moves, right, and the outside of time, you said, is a constant. It doesn't move, and that represents God to you, or it is God to you, if I understand Sneezer. This guy's backed up on comments, LOL. Yes, I am. I give thanks to the Most High that there are people out there who want to just, shoot the breeze and discuss ideas and give each other's opinion, one another's opinion, and discuss, usually in a civil way. Ajen, yes, the list just keeps growing. The list keeps growing? Which list? Are you talking about Seinfeld episodes here? Sunita says, I don't Discord, Telegram, Instagram, or Twit. I'm assuming you wanted to say, I don't Discord, Telegram, Instagram, or tweet, or Twitter, or X. Salina Girl, 69, Salina Girl. What say you of black Hebrew Israelites that believe they are the true Israelites and that the 12 tribes of Israel are people of color? So first of all, if they took on the covenant of the Hebrew faith of Torah and commandments, right, the laws of Moses, if they took that on, and to some degree, right, if they were uncircumcised and then they circumcised themselves, they went to a mikveh, right, a ritual pool, and immersed themselves in it, then they are converts. You could argue over whether they are Orthodox or whether they are Karaites or whether they, I don't know what, but if they take on the yoke of Torah and commandments and they take on the one Hebrew God and the covenant, right, between us, they are converted de facto. Orthodox and others might not recognize it, but they are. If they believe, let's say, in Jesus and the fact that he was a God incarnate, that goes against the Torah, that flies in the face of Torah and of, well, some elemental things in the Jewish faith. And so, that already is another thing. As for them saying they are the true Israelites, I have no idea who the true Israelites are. Tradition says that I am one of them. That's what I know. That's my tradition. If they have a tradition that they are the true ones, then I am a convert. Still part of the tribes. And as for the 12 tribes of Israel being people of color, I don't know what people of color means. You could say that I'm a little brown myself. So I'm not sure how you mean and what you mean when you say people of color. Do you mean not white European Christians? It's like, okay. Or not white Europeans? Then, yes, they are people of color from the Middle East. Cometh, asks, how do you suggest I learn Hebrew? I have no idea how one would go about learning Hebrew. I know that the one person that I have been in touch with in the past, James Larisha, radical Torah supremacist, and he gave himself that title. I'm just, that's what he says he is. Do you need something, my man?
Where's the goddamn dog?
Ik weet het niet. So, so he learned Hebrew while he was incarcerated. He had a few years to delve deep into Hebrew. He speaks good Hebrew. I don't suggest that you become incarcerated in order to learn Hebrew, because there's got to be another way. But I wouldn't know how to go about it. Such an ancient language, even in its modern incarnation, if you will, it's still, I think, very difficult. I wouldn't even know how to go about it, not in the least, so I don't know. Sorry. People who study Hebrew, what do you think? Sneezer says to Splash, he's skipped 3 days of backlog actually, doing well. I skipped? What do you mean, skipped or went through? His chat always gets backlogged nowadays. Sad for us, I guess, but I gather that Jonathan appreciates it. Hey, it's really something. I suppose I would rather finish the entire chat and somehow get up to it, and I have in the past. But thank God there are so many people here now, regulars, who show up and give their 2 cents and speak their mind and engage here. And so I have nothing but thanks to all of you, even though it comes at your expense, ironically. I do enjoy the fact that there's a backlog that I hit live and people are already waiting, and engaging. And once again, I cannot stress this enough, an altogether very civil and courteous tongue. That cannot be overstated. It could degenerate into such madness so quickly in such touchy subjects, let's say. But people here are able to avoid the pitfalls of kind of meaningless back and forths. And that's great. That speaks to your character, good people. And the regulars especially. So yeah, at the that lovely dialogue, that wonderful chat, that wondrous thing that I call this YouTube live stream that I just hit live, and here I am with you people. What fun. It comes at the cost of me not getting to everything. Robert Harrison says, the Smithsonian Institute has been covering up giants' remains, Nephilim, in the US. They found giant skeleton bones in Indian mounds with turtle shells on their heads, elbows, and knees all throughout. Now I must ask you, let's grant that and say it's completely true. The Smithsonian, at the behest of the government, I guess, right, has been covering up remains of giant humanoids, right? Because the Nephilim were not exactly all human according to tradition. Now, why would they be interested in covering it up? I'm curious. What do you people think? Robert, what do you think? Sneezer says to Ariel, it happens more the more popular you get. A good thing. I concur. Robert says the Americas, throughout the Americas. They found these bones throughout the Americas. I see. Splashva says, hi. I think you showed up earlier. Did I read something you said? Maybe I skipped it. Hi there. Good to see you here again. Yes, it's less interactive, but informative as a trade-off. Where are you from, people? Asks Kakugad in the Philippines. Splash, have you shared where you're at? Feel free if you're interested. If you are so inclined. This is green tea with cranberry. And it is good. I will try not to cry too much about it, Sneezer, says Ariel. And Kaku said, hello to Ariel. See, you're making connections. BMXer asks, by the way, does anybody here listen to trance? There's a song by, I think, Infected Mushroom, that I can't find it. It includes Gollum saying, evicted city. Doesn't he say the dead city? Maybe it is evicted city. I think it's the dead city. It's a Minas Morgul, right? Tejas says, don't you know, I don't listen to trance. I have a few tracks that I like, I suppose, but I never listened to it regularly. Definitely don't know anything about it. I can appreciate it when it's good. And certainly if I was under the influence of anything, I could probably appreciate it on different levels. So, but it's never been my bag. personally, though I can appreciate it. Don't you known, said Tejas, as said in books of Malachi, it is written, God will resurrect the dead. Why can't God resurrect Jesus? It shows we are doubting God, which we should not. God could do anything and reveal anything in creation. But creation also has certain ideas which were bound to the Hebrew people through the covenant. And one of those ideas is that we are talking about a living God, if you will. Right? We're talking about Chai HaChaim. We're talking about something which is outside of our perception of good and evil, right and wrong, that duality. So if you're talking about what God can and can't do, that already is a duality, and it is sort of null and void, as I see it, when speaking of the divine. Because when God is revealed, He is revealed already either with a duality or with the capacity down the line to split into a duality. So as for you saying that God can't, I never said God can't. I simply am saying, even if that is the case, and God resurrected Jesus after 3 days, Hebrew people do not follow dead kings. We do not follow dead messiahs. We do not. When the king dies, he is replaced. When the high priest dies, he is replaced. When a prophet dies, generally speaking, somebody else, if it goes that way, is anointed, replaced. Meaning, we do not follow the dead. We can follow in their footsteps, in their teachings, their lore perhaps, but we do not follow them. We do not crown them kings after death. We do not give them the oil of the high priest after death. They are dead, living in another way, for sure, with a different sort of consciousness, if you will, that which is without the body, but not alive in the sense that we are here, nor will they return in the sense that we are here. The resurrection and the eating of the tree of life, of the fruit of the tree of life, that final resurrection, if you will, we're not supposed to follow those who are resurrected in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible. I don't feel I, as a Hebrew man, ought to follow people who are resurrected in the Christian Bible, and we don't follow those who were taken away, like Hanoch and Eliyahu. Eden was wonderful, a perfect honeymoon. Yes, 'twas. It really was. But the honeymoon, after the honeymoon, you got to learn how to live with each other. Fun fact, because I was in the army when I got married, I didn't really have a honeymoon until after I got out over a year later. And it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely what I needed after that time in the army. Yeah, the honeymoon ends. Definitely the honeymoon ends, and then you gotta contend. I never thought I would find this type of open talk. I am very grateful, says Kaku. I'm grateful to you. I appreciate it. BMXers, never heard of it. No, you're not into trance, Robert? Yudidyao says, what is the Talmud reference to killing your enemy before he kills you? Hakam lehorgecha, hashkem lehorgo. Meaning, right, whoever is getting here, I'll no, it's well, I'll write it. I'm not down there in the chat right now, but I'll write it in Hebrew for you. Whoops. There. So I put it there now in Hebrew. I don't remember the precise tractate. Is it Midrash? I don't think it's Talmud. It might be Midrash, right? It might be the external teachings. But the reference is Hakam lehorgecha, hashkem lehorgo. He who comes to kill you, get up earlier and kill him first. Well, get up earlier, it means you kill him. If somebody's coming to kill you, kill him first. BMXer says Shani Lok, and many more. Many are gone, but forgotten, not forgotten. I'm not sure who that is. I think you've mentioned that name in the past, BMXers. God bless Israel, says Raymond. Thank you. Thank you. I already had a couple today. Put it back, please. Put it back. I don't want another one. I don't want another one. Put it back then. Put it in a bag and put it back. Come on. Thank you. I don't want it to melt here. Bless you, boyo. I appreciate it. Ariel says, I am a bit too nomadic to really tie myself. Wait, take it, put it in the bag. Daniel, I mean it, thank you.
I'll have it.
Okay, have both. Okay. Ariel says, I am a bit too nomadic to really tie myself down to a single nationality. Hoping to have 5 different passports soon. Wow, that really is nomadic. Good for you, man. Some people, they just can't stay in place. Me, I'm a homebody, man. I'm a homebody. Really. Cometh the man, aren't you Jewish? Yes, I am. Why are you talking about the image of God? I'm talking about an image of God. I'm not talking about God incarnate. Do you guys also believe that God may resemble man like Christians do? So by resemble, I don't mean become one, and I don't mean reveal himself fully in essence as one. What I mean is that there are, let's say, divine messengers, angels, let's say, who can take the shape of humans, in accordance with the task, whatever duty they are tasked with. So that is what and when I say the image of God, I mean us. We were created, human beings were created in the image of God, B'Tselem Elohim barauto, which means that it's sort of incumbent on us to reveal that in the world. That's what I mean when I say image of God. It means being the best human being that you can be, and revealing the gift that you need to give to the world in fullness. Right, to quote David Data. The gift you need to give to the world. That is your duty to give it to the world. That's that image of God, right? And so in the Hebrew faith, we arrive at it through Torah and commandments, right? And following the covenant. Other people, since they are also human beings, other people have their own ways of attaining this fullness. And I don't say completion, I say fullness, which is not the same thing. Splash says Eden is still around, Sneezer. Just a lot of security guarding it. Indeed, I concur. I wish I could find people like here so I could talk to. Hey Kaku, I don't know how old you are or what social circles you run in, but people who want to discuss these things, I mean, I think they are everywhere if you know where to look. It's like some people may judge certain societies down to certain streets or neighborhoods. Oh, the people over there are all stuck up, are all shallow. I think that you can find people that are aspiring, wanting intellectual discussion and discussing faith, spirituality, religion, meaning. I think you'll find that there are a lot of them out there. You might want to check out, other than YouTube, you might want to check out you might want to check out a place of worship, let's say, but that's not of a certain religion. I don't know if such a thing exists. It's more of a club. But I don't have any concrete ideas on how you might go about that. Like I said, I don't know the circumstances, under what conditions you are, right? So Neither says to cometh, I'm Christian and know God is in all things, all forms. The MXer gives Robert the thumbs up there. You're welcome here, Achi, says Robert. You're welcome here, my brother, he says. Well hinted, Splash, said Sneezer. Splash says, if you think you can get past swinging sword traps, angels, etc., you can still vacation. Yes, indeed. Buddy needs to make a comeback. Are you talking about Michael Richards? Is that what we were talking about at the time? Oh, are you talking about Jesus? I'm sorry. What was that? Who are you talking to? Oh, okay. I'm assuming, Raymond. Hi, Raymond. I'm assuming you were talking about Jesus right there. I usually agree with Sneezer, says Ariel. And Jonathan. Chokhmah is wisdom. Well, Binah is more wisdom, or you could call it understanding. Again, it's the translations, certain things are lost in them, and this is one of them. Splash Fuzz says to Sneezer, as you shouldn't. Right? You shouldn't fear no evil. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read that. He says to Splash, I fear no evil, and he returns. He says, you shouldn't. Sneezer says it is a very diverse but open-minded, thus similar concluding group. Similar concluding. That's an interesting way to put it. Oxy too. Hi, Oxy. He says, hello, guy. Oh, no. He said, you look like Hawkins' son. Which Hawkins? I don't know who Hawkins is. Someone fill me in. I'm ignorant. Hello guys, where are you from? Says Kaku. I'm from Ottawa, says Sneezer. Bless you. By the way, says BMXers, have you read any of the previous day's chats? No, I haven't yet. I'm still here, and it's been 50 minutes. So here's what I'm going to do. On that note, I am going to go to the previous chat from Thursday. What? What is it? What, are you here?
לא, אני ראיתי איזה בן אדם שכתב have you bombed any children this week, משהו כזה.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go to Thursday's chat, and then I hope I'll continue here. Hang on a second. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to go to the different tab. All right, so here we are. Let's see. If anyone... Oh, and I'm sorry. I need to... Oh, come on. I thought I had it here marked. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. So on Thursday, we stopped. Bloodnose says... Oh, no. We already read through that. Okay. Masala Singh said... If you take away the money of the 50 richest Jewish families, wars and revolutions would stop. All right, I'm assuming Masala was alluding to the great Jewish cabal, which controls everything. And because they control everything, that's why we've been persecuted for thousands of years. That's a great strategy, Jews. You control everything, and you orchestrate it so you guys are pogromed and kicked out and expelled and raped and slaughtered and maimed and blood libels and can't find a place to rest. So, yeah, that's what people who control, that's what the 50 richest, that's what they would do. Okay. Or, I get it now. The 50 richest Jewish families are creating all of this wars and revolution on the backs of the Jewish people in order to sow this constant warmongering and division while they sit on their, while they lie back on their pillows and smoke cigars and drink their single malt whiskey. Do I have that right? Could be. I'm ignorant. I don't know. But I don't see it. I simply don't see it. But, again, could be. Very well could be. The 50 Jewish families. Jews are not meant to take over the world. Christianity says that Christianity is supposed to rule, right? And everybody should accept Jesus. Islam says that Islam should rule the world and we should all submit to the will of Allah. So, of people who, if you took them away, wars and revolutions would stop, I think Islam and Christianity need to take the plank out of their own eyes. The beam out of their own eyes. But I might be wrong. Yodidiao says, if someone rejects Yeshua, move on and stop haggling them. They'll have their time. Right, so when I said that Jesus followers, Messianics, Christians, others keep telling me to come to Jesus, keep showing me proof of Jesus, and it's like, it's just not happening. That's what he was referring to. Reagan's said, if you are on the spiritual path as a Jewish person, do you need to have a rabbi you follow, always take advice from? At first, at least, yes. I had masters who taught me, rabbis who taught me, ever since I was very young. And so, I'm inclined to think, yes, it ought to be something structured. If not a rabbi, then your father should instruct you in the ways of Torah and of halacha and of tradition, lore, practices, philosophy, spirituality, right? A spiritual path. From spirituality to organized religion, there's a lot there. And a rabbi, a master, even if it is your father, is something that can be, right? Some kind of a sage, experienced person, that can be very good, at least in the beginning. Then again, not everybody who takes the title rabbi is indeed a rabbi. Right now, rabbi is more of a technical term which pertains to a person who has gone to the rabbinical studies and he wrote the test, and he can now rule on halacha for, let's say, a congregation. All right, he knows the halacha well enough, and he's ordained as a rabbi. Different sects, denominations, whatever. Before the destruction of the Second Temple, the word rabbi meant someone who had hands laid on his head from Moses to Joshua onward until the Second Temple. But yes, if you mean rabbi in the sense of somebody great, a master, a teacher, then yes, it's good to have one definitely in the beginning, definitely one which you follow. The Torah says, in the oral traditions rather, right? They say, "Aseh lecharav," make for yourself a master. Always take advice from. Well, that's, some say always. Some say you should simply nullify your will before the rabbi, the rebbe. And some say, no, you should have somebody you go to for advice, not commands, right? You can go to advice from a rabbi, but you don't necessarily need to take every piece of advice as commandment and as Torah from Sinai. So different people, right? Different strokes for different folks, different rabbis for different people, congregations, communities. It's nuanced. So Nizar said to Yodidiahu, yes. Oh, something he said before. Oh, they'll have their time. Right, yes, he agrees. Ariel said, we'll need 4 other things to pull it off also, but it will be able to fly non-stop without a fuel source. So we were talking about a flying temple, and it has to do with the revelation in Ezekiel 1, the Merkava. Somehow, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I think, Ariel, you claimed, or someone claimed, that if we were to actually engineer such a contraption, it would be something which levitates of its own accord. I think that's what, right, a flying temple? I think that's what was being talked about then. But I'm not sure, so correct me if I'm wrong. The inner world and the... Oh, wait. Sneezer says, both rule the world inner and makes it go round. Well, again, I don't remember what we were discussing at the time. My apologies. BMXers says, by the way, since your son has not seen American Pie, you can order pizza from American Pie and watch the first movie. You don't have to because I suggested it, of course, but it would be very apt if you did. I don't know. I think I might. Maybe with the 12-year-old. Possibly. I don't know, maybe it's even a little too raunchy for a 12-year-old. I don't know. Yodi's speaking wisdom, said Paula Harrison. Trump book, said Ariel Marshall. So Nizar says, Gnostics believe you can know God, which is true, but the only way is to meet God. Well, to the degree that you can know God in this world, it's certainly meeting. It's certainly a meeting, which is why it's called tshuva. It's called returning, right? That path. It leads you somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Ariel says it was my family's name before the war. Well, I don't recall the name that was discussed there, unfortunately. Let's see. It means to an end, but the end is Jesus, says Sneezer. Jesus being unconditional love, not just some man. He was the best example of unconditional love to date. Yodidiahu chimed in. Yeshua is the Word, and the Word is Torah. Yeshua spoke Torah. Okay, it's something that I understand why Christians and followers of Yeshua are always saying, always, it's on you people, according to your faith, religion, pathway. It's your tradition, let's say, to spread the good news and to tell people of the gospel and to, have you heard? He has risen. That whole thing. To help other people rise. I get where you're coming from. The intent is appreciated. The intent is certainly appreciated. Atheists have faith that God can exist without having any proof. Atheists have faith that God can exist without having any proof. They have faith without proof that God can exist but doesn't, because as far as I know, atheist means sort of non-theist, meaning going for no deity. As they say to people who worship one God, I go one God further. Right? You don't believe in any of those old Roman gods, Greek gods, Canaanite gods, Mesopotamian gods, and I go one further. But I don't know what you mean, Sneezer, when you said atheists have faith that God can exist without having any proof. I'm not sure what you mean. Ariel said, I enjoyed the Baron von Munchausen story as a child, so I take inspiration from it. You know, I think I must have read it. I don't recall. I remember seeing the movie, Terry Gilliam's movie, The Adventures of the Baron Munchausen or Baron of Munchausen. I remember seeing it a long time ago, and I don't really remember it. I need to see it again. I don't remember anything from it. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was exceedingly tired or I couldn't focus. I remember watching it. I remember I think Eric Idle was on the cover, so maybe he was there as well. I love Eric Idle. He's my favorite Python. Sneezer says, and they are right, what they imagine as God doesn't exist. So he continues, he says, what they imagine as God really doesn't exist. So atheists in that sense are right. But isn't that kind of strawmanning atheism and saying the way that they conceptualize it, that doesn't exist, but something else does? It's not really giving it a lot to stand on. I think there's more to atheism than simply that, is it? Maybe fundamentally that it's that, very, very binary, isn't. But if you're saying that, it's like, oh no, not like that. That's not really God. That's their conceptualization of God, and as such, yes, that does not exist. They are right about that, but they are not right about the one true God, right? So I don't. Maybe strawmanning is not the right term, but I don't know what to think of it. It seems something about that is off. Maybe you can phrase it better. Because it sounds off to me. Something about the way you phrased it. It's just a simple matter of them misunderstanding. Well, let's put it this way. I think that when you speak of God, Sneezer, you speak of the God of the Bible, of the New Testament, as you would put it. And when you say that you met God, when you say you know God, do you mean literally, actually, that God of the New Testament? And everything that entails pertaining to Jesus as you see it? If your answer is yes, that God, then I think that's the one basically, kind of, not only, but that's the major one I would say that atheists say, I go one God further. That's the one that they're talking about. That God of the Abrahamic gods, if you will, right, to put a term on it. Hello. So just a term, just a simple matter of them misunderstanding. I mean, it sounds... Again, something about the way you phrased it sounds off, but it could be that you're exactly right and it's simply me misunderstanding. Reagan said, a blessing to learn from you. Not from, with. You're learning with me. I'm learning too. I'm learning from every comment and every little thing in the chat, every live stream. I get to learn new things. I get to see things from an angle that's maybe sometimes a little different, and it's you guys are giving me a lot here. Who would like to see HN in person? Asked Robert. On that note, on seeing me in person, I'm going to go right back to today's chat. It's been just over an hour now. I have 12 people watching and 4 likes. I feel so blessed. It's so much fun to have you people here with me. You could be doing so many other things right now, but you're here enjoying this Sunday with me. It is just after 10 p.m. here in Israel. And I'm enjoying this. I'm delighting in it. I am feeling very good right now. It's very good. Well, done with my tea. Okay. So let's see. Sneezer Raymond says, have you bombed any children this week? Well, if Hamas were using them as human shields, they are. There's a chance that we did. Because when you're targeting Hamas and Hamas cover themselves in women, children, inside of schools and mosques and hospitals and the good, kind, and ennobling things that they're doing, when you pull those tactics, don't be alarmed or surprised. Well, be alarmed. Don't be surprised when innocent people die. I have an idea, Hamas. Put down your weapons, return the hostages, surrender, and the war will be over tomorrow. I'm a sneezer too, he said, LOL. Yes, I am. Concord, North Carolina. My name was made to be shared, said Sneezer. What is it, baby? What are you talking about, man? No, that's not happening now. Okay. Okay. Oh, Ima said so?
We need to take care of this.
Then dude, then she told you that you need to, or that it needs to be done. Pardon me, just a moment. No, don't start. Listen, guys, I'm in the middle of a stream. Uriah, I'm not fighting with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking you once. Please, can you go off the couch, get off the couch, go to the dishwasher, load it, start it? And now I'm not asking you, now I'm telling you. Get up now, go to the dishwasher, load it, and start it. Okay, Danielle, don't say a thing, don't do a thing. Thank you. That's it. Ignore it, wipe it, wash your hands of it. I find it highly ironic in hindsight, said Sneezer. Oh, I'm sorry, he said something before that. He says, hey, knock that off. Knock it off. And I chose it as an atheist, said Sneezer, so had nothing to do with wanting people to bless others after it's said. I find it highly ironic in hindsight. Ha. World Between Worlds. Have you ever played Clan Escape Torment? No, I have not. I don't know what it is. First I ever hear of it. So no, I haven't. Kaku God says, I wanted to go to US someday like Nikola Tesla to find fundamental basis of everything and kindred spirit. To the US. Do you believe in the US you'll find the basis of everything and kindred spirits? Is it because the US is, in your opinion, the big melting pot? The great melting pot? I wonder. Yedidiah says, "V'haTorah amra im ba'le orgecha ashkem leorgo." Yes. Where does it say this in Torah? I'm trying to remember. I don't think it says it verbatim. I don't remember the context of where it says im ba'le orgecha ashkem leorgo. I don't remember the context. Could you provide the context where it originally was in the tradition of the Midrash or the Oral Torah? Or if not, I'll look it up later. I just don't want to do it now. No, you know what? Hang on. I will do it now. Hold on a moment. Okay. Just a second. Okay, so it's not in the Bible. That's what I figured. It's not in the Torah and it's not in the Bible. It's from the Talmud, Sanhedrin, Tractate Sanhedrin 62. 62, hold on a second. Yes. And it's based on the verse in Exodus 22:1, Kaf Bet Aleph. So that's the basis of it. Exodus Shmot Kaf Bet Aleph, Exodus 22:1, and Sanhedrin 62 in the Babylonian Talmud. So by all means, look it up. That's where it says it, or that's where that verse is what it's basing it on. I like the idea of that being real, of a world between worlds. Well, I don't know if you mean the Plan Escape Torment version of it, but I say the world between worlds because right now, we had the 6 days of creation, and before we could experience that seventh day, Before that sixth day was over, we were expelled and cast out of Eden. And so that time between the sixth and the seventh day stretched into history as we know it, currently in this world. That's what I mean when I say a world between worlds. It's between that old Eden and the new Eden, if you will. The first time and the second time. BMXers says, by the way, I saw a movie about Kang Z. I don't know who that is today. I did not know anything about him before watching it, so it was rather interesting. I don't know who Kang Z is. Sorry, somebody enlighten me, fill me in. Sneezer says, and Moses did it through faith. If our faith is but the size of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. I concur. I agree. I do. It's true. Ariel says, if I could only change my name to Achu now. Achu here? That's men in tights. Wow, Moses did it through faith. Indeed. Moses stuttered. Robert said, Moses stuttered. Aaron, a great speaker. Sure? Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
For sure. Thank you, my dear. Sneezer said, hey, you're doing it? You're loading it?
Yes.
I really appreciate it, baby. Thank you. That's no small thing. Right? Even though you didn't want to do it. Thank you.
Who had oatmeal last?
I don't know. Maybe your brother? Maybe me?
Look.
I have no idea. Dude, if it's there in the sink, it's there. Show me. I'm not sure. But use hot water. Okay. Kaku God says, what's the difference between Judaism and Christian? Well, the Judaism and Christian thing, for me, it splits in the divinity of Jesus. That's where I say, nope, that's where it splits. Right? Jesus was not God. And Jesus, even if he was, let's say, resurrected, though I don't think he was, but even if he was, because there is such a precedence in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, he was still not God, not Son of God, not, that whole thing. He could have been a sage, he could have been a prophet, he could have been a king, he could have been anointed, right, the anointed one, the Messiah, until he died. And that's where the great split is between Judaism and Christianity as far as I'm concerned. That's where the rift begins. Na says, what do you think about the Israel versus Palestine grudge match? I think that it's been going on too long. I think that it will either need to end in a decisive Israeli victory or in a complete sort of brand new revelation of God, a shift of consciousness. It's like it's not going to end, because this is not about territory. This is about religion. This is about faith. This is about God. And because of that, it's just going to continue. Ariel says, would be two great names to have in a church, Sneezer and Achu. Sneezer says, to know that you are biased is the first part of becoming unbiased. I agree. Absolutely, Kaku says to Sneezer. BMXers says, I would like to be more like water. The New York Nazarite told me to be like water once, but I thought he was referring to something from Kung Fu, because I mentioned something that reminded me of Kung Fu to him. Right, well, that's the Tao Te Ching. It's the Tao Te Ching, right? Lao Tzu says that the Tao is a lot like water. It accepts any shape that it resides in. Right? If I put it into this bottle, it will take its shape. If I put it into this mug, it'll take its shape. And the Tao Te Ching says that water doesn't ask for a lot of respect or dignity. It goes as low as it possibly can. Right? Even in places where there is not much dignity, you can find water. And in that way, the Tao reaches all the way down to the depths. And it ennobles the dignified and undignified alike. It brings life. And in the same way, the New York Nazarite, if he's speaking of water, it also stands to reason that he is speaking of chesed, right? The divine attribute called chesed, the right hand, right? The hand that is always open, what's known as the chamsa. And so to be like water, again, the attribute of chesed and what the Tao Te Ching says is very much aligned. And I'll leave it at that. Sneezer says to Ariel, I can see it starting a war. Did you sneeze Sneezer or Anchu? Achu. Did you see anything there? Or achu? Kakugad says, there is no light to those who doesn't know about darkness. But how can we know or study darkness if it doesn't exist but absence of light? You'd be surprised what could grow in the absence of light. You'd be surprised at what can grow in that dark and cold tohu vavohu, right? That darkness before creation, let's say. And we see its echoes here in this world of light and darkness, right? How can we? Because it's an innate part of this world. This world is a world of duality, right? Good and bad, good and evil, rather. Light and dark.
Binky, get away.
Yin and yang. Caesar says to BMX, that does come from Kung Fu movies, but if I may source from Judaism, it seems the Orientals knew well of the Torah. It does seem that they knew something of the Torah. I agree. This also might go back to the Midrash saying that the people of the Orient, right, the Eastern faiths, the Eastern religions, have their beginning in the sons of Abraham and Keturah, to which he gave their inheritance while he still lived, and gave the Hebrew covenant then alone to Isaac, to Yitzchak. And they got their own covenants. And it stands to reason that if these boys and girls of Abraham and Keturah grew up in the house of Abraham, even if they did not later follow the Hebrew traditions and the covenant and pass those on to their kids, they definitely saw Torah everywhere in Abraham's tent. You know what I'm saying? I could think how that might be the case. Or not. Robert says, yes, he did unscathed. The rabbi tested him to see if he would deny Yeshua. When he didn't, the Rabbi Shlomo wrote his number down and asked him to call him. He got questions. Okay, so the Messianic rabbi who went into Bnei Brak came out unscathed. And so there was a continuation. Okay, good. Perfect. Ariel says, Kaku, can I answer your question about Eden? Henry Lamb retracted the message. Hello, Henry Lamb, if you're still here with us. What's up? Where are you at? Kaku said to Ariel, hello, sure, I would love to talk to you. Sneezer says, Henry, so mind, body, spirit is not one thing? Well, I guess Henry said something about mind, body, and spirit. Huh? Robert says, have you heard, Achi, of people being stoned in primitive parts of Israel nowadays from breaking the Sabbath? No, I have never heard of people being stoned, because in order to be stoned to death, you need to have a high court. And we do not have a high court, and so we do not have the death penalty in the Hebrew sense. The state of Israel does have the death penalty, and it has used it once on Adolf Eichmann. He was hung, and then later that day buried, if I'm not mistaken. Which part is missing, said Sneezer. To Henry. He said that to Henry.
I started a wash.
Wait, it's going? Thank you, Tevorach. Oh, wait, did I do a wash? A laundry? No, I didn't. He did. Okay. I hope I didn't start a load. Never mind. Henry, do you not have a mind, body, or spirit? So, once again, they're doing that, so I guess I'll see what he says. Assuming that it is, Ariel Marshall says, assuming that it is a true story referring to a historic event. Kodesh Lechem, says Robert, holy bread. It was on the side. So, steeple is the tower of a church. Right. So that's what I said. The angle of its roof. Ariel says, which is usually 60 degrees. Ariel says, I would guess that it was Elohim that made the request, and Elohim can be either a being or a group of beings, right? It says Elohim, that's the name used in that first telling of creation, and then it changes to Adonai Elohim, Yod Hei Vav Hei. They may not have known what Adam and Eve would do. Kakugad says, I would love to listen longer, but I feel sleepy now. It's 2:31 a.m. here in the Philippines, so I guess by now this is 50 minutes ago. This particular chat, this comment. So I'm assuming he's already asleep by now, or I hope for his sake. So I love it that he stayed on a half hour here chatting with us, even though he started watching at 2 a.m. All right. Sneezer says, time literally moves faster and slower on a daily basis. Scientists have proven this molecular clocks. There are elapsed seconds removed and added frequently. The idea of time moving faster and slower, that also has to do with how, time, right, that also has to do with light speed. If we're talking about space and time as a continuum, I think that it has to do, at least according to some, it has to do sort of inherently, right? They're a pair, let's put it that way. Time literally moves faster and slower on a daily basis. Scientists have proven this with molecular clocks. Seconds removed and added free. Seconds or milliseconds, milliseconds, nanoseconds, actual seconds? Yeah, mini. There are no milliseconds, I know. Tejas says, this also one disbelief that God cannot be man. God haven't said in Old Testament and New Testament that God cannot be man. If there, show me right now. Well, it's in the 10 Commandments, which we will read the second iteration of, Parashat Va'etchanan, in the book of Deuteronomy, this Shabbos. In the 10 Commandments it says that we may not make other things God. So, that's pretty much where I'm going with that. So Nizar says to Ariel, Elohim were a group that acted as one. Staying off the grid, well, if you're here, you're highly staying off the grid, man. Oil up, twerk. You want me to oil up my butt and twerk? I'm flattered, but I don't see that happening. Kakugad said, Sneezer and I talk a lot. Yeah, by all means, continue in the comments, Sneezer says, yes, that's what I meant, or is often for some reason, yes. If you love HN, let's get him says Robert Harrison. Thank you, I appreciate that. Pole dance, do gay stuff, says Staying Off the Grid. Do gay stuff? What sort of gay? Like happy stuff? I'm happy. Ariel says, either that or it was probably a different angel that made the request. I could be very wrong, by the way. Pardon? BMXer says, by the way, I decided to buy hummus the end of this month or next month and taste it for the first time. BMXers, I think you should invite us all, people here right now, you should invite all of us and live stream you tasting the hummus. If you're camera shy, you don't even show your face, right? You have the angle down, top or side on the hummus, right? On the bowl of hummus with whatever toppings or anything you have, right? And maybe a couple of pita or whatever bread you have there in South Africa that you want to experience with a good sauce or gravy. And you simply, right, we'll just see your hands basically, and we'll get all your ums and oohs and ahs, and if you hurl because you hate it, then we'll hear the splash as the vomit hits the ground. That'll be lovely. Consider live streaming your first taste of hummus. That's all I'm saying. Okay. BMXers. I've been tutoring Kaku for about 6 years. You've been tutoring Kaku for about 6 years on what? I'm curious. Show us your hog. You know what? I think if I did that, YouTube would not allow that. Hog is penis. HN in my playlist, that list.
Someone likes you?
Yes. Staying Off the Grid wants me to do gay stuff with him and pole dance for him and twerk for him, all oiled up.
Well, you should start. It takes 2 to tango.
Yes, thank you. It takes 2 to tango. Staying Off the Grid, you do it first. Let me be the judge of if I'd want to be part of this duo, right? If you're asking me for exclusivity and you want to get with me and be with me, again, I'm flattered, but, I don't come cheap. I do. Vivriut, you must do a box opening. Hey, Sneezer, great minds. That's a big nose. Yes, my schnoz runneth over. Check it out.
So's my nose.
Go on, boy. Okay. On that note, on the note of the schnoz reveal, of the great schnozzerator, move. I will say that I will continue this, God willing, not tomorrow, since tomorrow at 9 it's already the fast of the 9th of Av, day of mourning. sadness, no learning Torah. So, God willing, I will see you Tuesday after the
I
fast.
want to say something.
No. Tuesday after the fast. Off camera?
Yeah.
Okay. Tuesday after the fast, yes.
But the big schnoz on his way.
Correct. Tuesday after the fast with a big schnoz, 9 p.m. Israel time. Until then, thank you all, each and every one of you. I don't take it for granted. You could be doing anything else right now, quite literally. But you're here doing this, and I'm thankful, I'm grateful. I hope that there's some value here that I could provide a bit of value perhaps. I love the engagement, every sub, every like, every comment in the chat or later, those watching now, those watching later. I deeply appreciate your time, your kind attention, engagement. Until tomorrow, not tomorrow, until 2 days from now, good night from Jerusalem. May it be. May we go from fasting to feasting, from mourning to dancing and joy.